Hi YouTubers, welcome back to my channel. This short video is going to be a short one and it's going to be a quick Bible study. This is one that I've been wanting to do for quite a long time, but life has happened. I haven't really had time to film. I broke my phone, and even though I film with my camera, it just that sort of change just sort of like offsets my schedule. And I've just been busy with work as well. Things have changed at work, so I have bigger responsibilities at work now, and that takes up most of my time. And I've been working on the business as well. I think I've shared a couple of times that I've been building my brands, and that has also been taking up most of my time. And now I've realized that I've been making excuses for about 1 minute as to why I haven't been fully committed. I want to thank all of you for watching this video in advance and just being around my YouTube channel. When I started this YouTube channel in October last year, the amount of support that I have received has been so overwhelming. So here is to me being committed to staying consistent, but to also be transparent and explain why I've been MIA for a month. And the truth is, I've actually been filming in the months I've been MIA. I just haven't been editing. But anyway, I'm back now. So yeah, today I want to talk about the book of Esther and the lessons that I have picked up from such powerful book. Okay, so let's do a quick crash course on the book of Esther if you're not familiar with the Bible story. By the way, if this is your first time joining my YouTube channel, welcome to my YouTube. I'm so excited to have you here. My name is Tolu Idowu. I'm a Nigerian based in the UK, and I share tips and tricks on how to become a well-rounded modern feminine woman. Most of my tips are based on faith. So I am a Christian and I like to apply my faith into everything that I do. Okay, so now let's talk about Esther. If you're not familiar with the book of Esther, Esther was a slave. So she was a Jewish slave that was, I don't want to say fortunate, because it was kind of king saw what he liked, king took what he liked. So it was kind of, she was trafficked. So I don't want to say that she was fortunate. And as I'm speaking now, I'm having a strong sense of deja vu, like I've been here before. That's a bit weird. But yes, I don't want to say she was fortunate to become a queen from a slave, because she was trafficked. Like the king was literally like, me like ye, me take ye. But as God would do everything, he always worked things around for beautiful things. So I believe that Esther was taken to the palace, obviously not just for herself, but also so that she could make an impactful change for the people, for her people. So here are my 5 tips that I've learned from Esther, and I'll then go in depth into how I apply this into my everyday life. So the first one is that Esther was obviously a woman who cared after herself. And when I say cared after herself, yes, I mean like the looks. From the way the Bible describes Esther, the Bible talks about how she was such a beautiful woman to look at. And even before she went to the king, she had a bit of conversation with one of the king's council, and he was giving her tips on what the king liked and how she should present herself. So I think that was a very strategic move. Now, the Bible doesn't specifically say if Esther was into her looks, but one could assume that she was, because even the king's council, when he saw her, he was like, this one is fit to be a queen. So she was probably someone that loved self-care, that loved to look after herself, however that might have looked in the Jewish days, back then. So after the beauty pageant, the king saw Esther and she found favor in the eyes of the king. Her looks made way for her, but she did not let it end there. So here brings me to tip number 2 that I learned from Esther. Tip number 1 being self-care. Look after yourself. Look good. God made you as a woman so beautiful and wonderfully made in his image. Looking after yourself. Don't ever feel like self-care is is vain. It's not vain. It's actually an art of self-respect. You're honoring yourself. It's a honor to yourself, okay? So now, tip number 2 that I learned from Esther was that she did not let the fact that she was beautiful get into her head. Now, what do I mean by this? When she found favor in the eyes of the king, she became the king's favorite queen. The king even kicked the first queen that was in the palace out for Esther. And bear in mind that Esther wasn't the only woman. There would have been other concubines and other wives, but Esther was mentioned. Obviously, she was the protagonist of the story. But at the same time, the way the story is described, it sounded like really liked her, and the king appreciated to be around her or to hear from her. So this is number 2 that I learned from Esther. Esther did not let all of that get into her head. See, when Mordecai came to her uncle and was asking her for favor when Haman, the villain, was trying to exterminate the Jewish people. So Mordecai came to her and said, go to the king and plead for your people. Don't think because you're living in the palace walls that when Haman's agenda is being manifested that you wouldn't be affected. In the end, you're a Jew, so go and speak on behalf of the people. Esther did not just, oh yeah, the king likes me anyway, let me go and talk to him and see how we would take things. She didn't do that. She actually was still very concerned to go speak to the king about these matters, because she understood that it wasn't her place. And even though she knew how much the king liked her, she didn't just take that for granted. So this brings me to my tip number 2. Let the way you present yourself, the way you carry yourself, the way you speak to others, your reasoning, your mind, your logic, let it be more of substance beyond just your looks, okay? So Esther went back to Mordecai and she was like, Omo, I don't think I can go. This thing that you guys are asking me to do is big, but here's what we'll do. So this brings me to tip number 3. Esther was a prayerful woman. She said, here's what we'll do. I want all of you to join me in prayer. I'm going to go to God 3 days. I'm going to seek the face of God. So here's tip number 3. Esther was a woman that sought the face of God in everything she did. As someone who has just lived life anyhow, I'm just gonna whatever, and someone who has actually started applying God, putting God first in everything she does, I can assure you that seeking the face of God before you embark on anything is such a powerful thing to have. At your workplace, even in church, the church that you choose to go to, because these days you need to be very careful. There are so many things being packaged as churches, even with friendships, even in your family, with your love life. Very important, because as a Christian, the man that you marry has to reflect God's image, So I encourage you to take that tip number 3 very seriously. Tip number 1, don't neglect your body. Make sure you look good. Look after yourself as a woman. God made you beautifully as a woman. Don't neglect that. Don't ever feel like looking after yourself is vain. Don't ever think that the act of self-care is vain. Tip number 2, be a woman of substance beyond your looks. Let your intelligence, your reasoning, the way you speak, there is power in the way you speak, in the way you speak about yourself, but even in the way you speak, like the way you sound towards people. People are, as much as we like to say, yeah, don't be biased, we live in a very biased world. Our brain operates in a very biased way. So the way you present yourself, the way you carry yourself, and the way you speak, it really would reflect on how people perceive you. You don't want people to judge you based on who you're not before they actually get to know you, and they'll be like, and I judged that to Ashley, but she's not really like that. She just uses a lot of slangs, but she's actually very well educated. No, let the way you speak, let it reflect substance and value. Don't use too much curse words. Even if you want to curse, obviously as a Christian we shouldn't really be cursing, but this video is not to condemn anyone, because sometimes I hear myself using curse words without even realizing. But as a lady, as a girl that is evolving into the woman that God has made you to be, okay, there are certain ways that you used to speak when you were 21, when you were 18. You can't speak like that anymore. You have become a woman. Let it reflect in the way you speak and the way you carry yourself, okay? So tip number 3 is very important as well, because when you put God first, you wouldn't be operating from your own perception or from what you think is right, but you'll be operating with what God exactly wants you to know and the things that God has called you on earth for. Remember that God created us all for purpose and destiny. You're not living life mere. Don't ever walk this earth feeling like you're mere. God made everyone for purpose, and everything is sort of synergetic. It sort of merges together perfectly. God is a very beautiful artist, though, very calculated, very intelligent. He knows why So this now brings me to tip number 4. Esther was a person that was selfless. She was a selfless leader. She could have easily been like, what's this one talking about? I'm in my palace. Me that the king likes me. But Esther wasn't like that though. She was like, okay, like this thing that they said to me, it kind of makes sense. How can I help these people and how can I help myself? So Esther was a very selfless woman, okay? And tip number 4 is that you need to lead with not just empathy, but you need to also always think about others in everything you do. So backstory, when I was a child, I actually struggled with this a lot. I struggled to see things from other people's point of view. I struggled to understand, like I was such in my own bubble. I really thought that the world revolved around me. And now it's kind of like, yeah, the world revolves around me, but your world revolves around you too. So you need to understand that as much as you're God's baby, like God's princess, you need to be able to take other people's opinions on. You need to don't let that mentality of God's princess actually get over the extreme where you think that you're in this life alone. I don't know if what I'm saying is boya on jabo dada. I don't know if you guys are getting it, but I'm trying to say, like, in everything you do, always try to consider others as well. Now you have to set boundaries, because don't be so considerate of others that you're letting yourself burn. But sometimes, this is where prayer comes in as well, because you can ask God for clarity and guidance if you feel like you're stuck and you don't understand how to navigate a situation where you feel like if you're too selfless, you might be losing yourself, or you might burn out. Where you feel like you might burn out if you're too selfless, you can ask God to teach you how to be more of a selfless person that is still very much within boundaries. Because trust me, when you're too nice, people will walk all over you. Don't let people walk all over you. But at the same time, don't be so closed off that you don't take other people's opinion on board. So now this brings me to my most powerful tip ever, and I think I've shared this on my YouTube channel before. But Esther was a very strategic woman. Everything you do, you have to do with strategy. And the thing about strategy is that intuition is involved in strategy. How can you listen to your intuition? How can your intuition be sharp enough? It starts first from actually having a communication with God. This is why prayer is important, because when you communicate with God, He speaks back to you. And the more you listen to God's guidance, the more your intuition starts to sharpen. So when I talk about strategy, like, I'm not just talking about, the kind of business strategy. I'm talking about life strategy. I'm talking about taking life like a game of chess, where you have to protect your queen at all costs. And some people might think, why would I want to approach life in such a manipulative way? But the truth is, we all play games in life. So before I actually started approaching life this way, I used to be a very nice person. So nice to the point that people used to walk all over me. And if you watched my previous video where I shared the story time of how I got gang bullied at work, you will kind of understand why I've come to this resolution in life. So imagine people setting, like high school, they are setting you up, trying to make you feel, they are literally counting the days down that you will fail. They are literally on your neck, asking you stupid questions, calling you all sorts of names in the workplace. The workplace has actually been a very eye-opening experience for me. It's made me realize that actually, but we humans are actually not very nice people. Okay, so the way that you navigate life is very important, so that you don't get walked all over. So when I mean approaching life like a game of chess, what I mean is that in everything you're doing, you're approaching it with strategy. Now, where does the Bible and Esther and intuition and hearing from God fit into all of this, right? This is what you're probably wondering. Now, again, I'm going to use that story as example, because when I was having the experience at work, I kind of knew something was off. From the moment I woke up that day, something just felt off, but I couldn't tell what about the day felt off. And then when I got to work, I think I've said this story before, so I'm not going to go too in-depth into it, but they asked me to do a release, and the way the whole thing played out, the way the person that asked me, the way they asked me the channel, everything seemed off, and I was about to do it, and the Spirit told me, don't do it. So this is where praying to God, listening to God, and honoring your intuition, this is where it comes into strategy. Because then I didn't do it, and then I played dumb. Okay, so this strategy, I played dumb because I was thinking, am I overthinking it? So I'm now asking questions, and in the process of asking questions, I'm able to pick on that. Yo, it looks like I'm not overthinking it too. It looks like these people were trying to set me up to fail. So now, bringing it back to Esther, when she was trying to bring Haman down and his plans, she didn't just confront him. Sometimes a lot of us are so confrontational. Like, confrontation is not the way to handle conflicts. Trust me. Sometimes you need confrontation, but sometimes you need strategy with your intuition in check. So when Esther was, trying to bring Haman down, she made him feel special. She planned a banquet, and she invited him. She brought out all the royal linens and the fancy things, and she made him feel special. Now, when I was reading the book of Esther again, as an adult that was trying to learn Bible study, all of that, I was seeing how, oh my God, this is kind of like what I did, when I had the workplace incident. So really, the Bible truly has all the answers, because when the whole thing happened, the person that stepped in and saved the day, I was asking him questions. I made him feel special, like, I'm so dumb. I'm not stupid and dumb, but I made him feel like, I don't know what's going on, and I need your advice, and you're a man and you have all this intelligence. Tell me. I'm now taking notes. So when Esther was trying to bring a man down, Yoruba would say, like, I'll prepare you down. So she made him feel special. Then she invited him again. This time his head was swelling. Then in the process, she was now able to approach the king and explain the situation to the king, and the way everything now played out. Haman was the one who lost. Not just his agenda being, destroyed, but the king also commanded that he be thrown into a pit or something. I can't remember the full story now. So here is where strategy comes in, okay? This is essentially the lessons that I wanted to share. I wouldn't call them Bible study, because they're not essentially talking about how to reconnect with God or how to strengthen your faith, but rather I like to call them faith-based life strategies, in the sense that I look at the Bible and I try to apply the lessons of the Bible to like everyday life, to how you can survive everyday life, because this life is crazy. God will continue to help us and give us the strength to navigate life. But the lessons I learned from Esther are these. Tip number 1, don't underestimate the power of your beauty and your charms. Tip number 2, be a woman of substance and value. Don't just be about your looks. Have something meaningful going on. Have a hobby, have something, a cause that you stand for about you, but have values that you stand on, that everyone knows this about you, but it also gives back into the society. This also relates to tip number 4. Tip number 3, be a person of prayer. Communicate with God, because this will sharpen your intuition, which kind of relates to tip number 5. Now, tip number 4, be selfless, but not just selfless, be a person of service. Be someone that your people around you can come to for help or come to for support, and you will actually show up and show out. But remember to set boundaries so that you're not burning yourself out. So I used to say this when I was younger, like 19, 20, I refused to set myself on fire for people to see the light in me. So don't, in the process of being a person of service, burn yourself out for others, because remember that you can't change how people will perceive you. People will always have their opinions about you. What you can do is continue to focus on yourself. So while you're being a person of selflessness and service, remember to set boundaries, okay? And then finally, tip number 5, be a person that operates with strategy. Don't just be, anytime there is an issue, you just be so confrontational. Take time to understand what the issue is about, like try and understand the other person's point of view as well, and take time to actually talk to God about it. So this is why I said it relates to being prayerful. Tip number 3, be a person of strategy. And yeah, remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and if you can leave in the comments which of these tips you found the most interesting and which one you're looking forward to applying the most. Thank you. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.